We're back with another episode of Mac Stories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing great. I mean, we are here recording this on the Friday before the OS reviews come out. And this is quite a year. It's a very different year in so many different ways. And I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit today, because even before you get to some of the surprises you have in store for people, and some of the other things we're doing at Mac Stories, we have 4 OSes. Well, actually, it's more than that even. We have every OS coming out on Monday, which I don't think that has ever been the case as long as I've been writing Mac OS reviews. Mine have always ever come out either late September or even as late as one year I was looking, it came out in November, and oh my gosh, that was a long fall. But yeah, everything's coming out at once.
Yeah, this is for us. It's unprecedented, right? It's the first time that we're dealing with we are dealing with all the reviews, in theory, being ready for Monday and all the operating systems coming out on Monday. We are obviously not going to publish everything on Monday. We've thought about this for a while. Ultimately, we would just be doing a disservice to our readers to just make their RSS and read later queues explode with words all in one day. We don't want to do that. And also, I feel like especially for the things that I've done for the iOS and iPadOS review and the extras and the perks surrounding it, I think we just got to give people time. And so I think the plan right now, and things may change over the weekend. I don't know. You never know. But the plan right now is to focus on iOS and iPadOS on Monday and all the things related to that review. And then we're deciding how to roll out the 3 other in-depth reviews that we have. So it is going to be a busy week on Mac Stories. And right now, my mood today is very low energy, because it's like it's that final process of the main body of work is done and all the things are coming together, but then you got to start caring about a million little things that you got to make sure are correct, like URLs and files and versions of those files, and making sure that you catch the last minute typos, last minute sections that I had to add to the review. Like all those little things, even though in scope they are smaller than the main body of work, they take more time. It's like it's that last 20% of the task, right? That's all. That always takes the longest. But I feel happy, and I'm personally very excited about seeing people's reactions. I know, because I'm already seeing this reaction in private, right? With the today I started sending the draft to some close friends, and I know it's going to be polarizing. I know that there's going to be, and this will make sense once you see the story, once you see what I've done. I know there will be some people who be like, why are you worrying about this so much? And other people are like, I love that you're doing this. Like, this is the kind of tech world that we're living in now. And my review, I think I mentioned this before, especially the conclusion, it's very personal. It's a very personal piece. This is something that I learned to embrace over the years. Initially, when I started doing these iOS reviews, I kind of wanted to be this like super objective, whatever that means. Like the reviewer that just talks about things without an opinion. And I realized over the years, and readers and friends were pushing me to embrace that side of me. Like, no, be personal. Like, be Federico, like say what you want to say. You're not an instruction manual.
Right.
Which that line is something that I also had a bit of fun with in this year's review.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
I like to be a little self-referential in places.
Sure.
And so, I have embraced that sort of style and that side of me. Like, I have opinions and they can be polarizing. This is who I am as a person. And I hope you like the story. But if you don't, I totally understand why. And actually, I agree with you if you don't, because I know that it's an opinion and other people have different opinions. Right. So if you disagree, if you don't like it, I understand. Like, and I agree with you. You're not supposed to like it if you don't, is what I'm saying. But hopefully there will be more people that like it than the people who don't.
Right. Well, no, I think that will absolutely be the case. And the reality is, even if people come away from it and say, I don't agree with everything Federico said, they're still going to learn a lot, because I think even though it's not an instruction manual, you have lived with these OSs far more than most people have over the last, many months. It's been nearly 100 days since we had WWDC and the keynote. So I think it's instructive and useful from that perspective, whether or not you have the same opinion or not. And I think too, for me, I always find it interesting and helpful to read these other perspectives and just kind of test my own assumptions and thoughts about technology by getting more perspectives. So hopefully there'll be a healthy dose of that as well.
Yeah. How about your review? How are you feeling? Like the last time we talked, you were in the final stretch. Like, I want to know about you. Enough about me. What about you?
I'm feeling good. I can't say that I was feeling great a week ago, because one of the things that I was trying to do as much as I possibly could was to get out in front of you and be finished before you, because we collaborate on a lot of the different aspects of what goes into these reviews, both the two of our reviews, but also we've got a couple of other reviews coming as well. And there are all kinds of different pieces with the perks and everything that have to be produced. And so I'm helping out with those as well. And I wanted to get it finished so that I could concentrate on everything else that's going on. And I was having a lot of difficulty doing that, because it's just a lot on top of everything else. And I had hoped to have been done, like, I don't know, early last week, like maybe, a week to 10 days ago. What really ended up happening was that I was finished by like last Saturday. My family was out of town last weekend. And so I sat at my desk until like 9:00 on a Friday night. I was back at my desk at like 5 a.m. on Saturday. I worked all day long and I got it finished. And that was a huge relief. Then I spent a lot of the beginning of this week doing the screenshots, which was what you've just kind of been going through over the last couple of days. And I find that process very tedious and boring and tiring, but I did find a way to kind of get through it. I was listening to some podcasts, listening to some music while I was taking screenshots. That kind of makes the time go by better. But as I got past Tuesday, I started feeling good about it, because it started coming together. Devin is doing editing for us, and he had a chance to look at it all and give me some feedback, and that was really helpful. And by the middle of the week, I'm feeling great again. So it was a hard start of the week. It was a long weekend, but we're almost there, and I'm excited for everybody to see it.
Yeah, well, it's almost done. My list in reminders is growing shorter and shorter and shorter. There's only like
that's good.
There's only like five tasks left, which is not too bad. And now today, as we're recording this on Friday, I began sending the draft to my usual circle of close friends, which is always scary. But usually I am fortunate to have people that know me, that have been reading these reviews in advance for many years now. And it's not necessarily about validation. It's more about like making sure that I'm not crazy, and that my craziness has not infected you, John. Yeah. So it's good to have people, is what I'm saying, and which will be also a theme of the review. You'll see. But that being said, stay tuned for Monday. I'm gonna post a teaser photo. We're all professionals and grown up this year, as you'll see. Gonna post a teaser photo in a little while. But yeah, shall we talk, John, about a new video game that we've been playing?
We should, because I will tell you,
a little palate cleanser, if you will.
It is. It's, I just got finished talking about how I worked all last weekend, but it's not quite true. I did take off a couple of hours on Friday and Saturday to take a break, unwind a little. And because I've been so obsessively working on this review, I really needed to get my mind off of it. And the way to do that is with a really good video game. And so we are going to talk jointly about Astrobot, which just came out on the PS5 about, as we record this, I don't know, what was it, like a week ago, maybe 10 days ago. But this is a fantastic game. This is one of my favorite games of the year so far.
It's unexpected, because I gotta be honest, so far this generation of consoles has not really spoken to me. I mean,
me either.
Except for the Nintendo Switch, but the Nintendo Switch sort of occupies this space in between, like the PS4 generation and the PS5. Like the Nintendo Switch is like its own entity. So when I talk about this console generation, I mean, The PS4 and the Xbox. The PS5 and the Xbox.
Yeah, and the Switch is on a different schedule too. It was
The
out
Switch
for a
is-
long
yeah.
time before those other ones.
Switch is there, living its best life after 7 years, whatever. Nintendo doesn't care. No, what I'm saying is that I have struggled. Like, if you ask me, name a game that sort of identifies the PS5 generation for you. And until Astrobot, I would have struggled because, and I'm sure like the renaissance of the PC scene, thanks to handhelds, especially for me personally, has really sort of changed my perspective on gaming over the past couple of years, especially basically since the Steam Deck came out and I started going down this rabbit hole that eventually led to NPC, the podcast that we have about handhelds. But yeah, until Astrobot, I sort of struggled to say, well, yeah, that's PS5. Like a game that instantly tells you it's a PS5 game.
Yep.
There have been exclusives, but they just, even Final Fantasy VII Rebirth hasn't really done that for me. And I want to revisit that game, but Astrobot, I almost had lost hope that Sony could come out with a mascot, with a game that would sort of represent an entire platform. But that is what Astrobot does.
And you know, I did almost give up too, because this game, until, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I wasn't really planning on downloading it. I wasn't really planning on buying it.
I had put my PS5 in storage just a few days before the release of Astrobot. Think, whatever, it's just going to be a self-referential game about PlayStation characters, and it's going to be this wannabe Mario platformer. And it turns out this is like a serious Mario wannabe platformer. Like, the best thing I can say about Astrobot, it's not just that it's a technical marvel and that it's the best showcase of the DualSense capabilities. You've seen the reviews, you've seen the videos, it's all that. At a deeper level, I think Astrobot is the kind of game that has that sort of Nintendo quality to it, where it throws ideas at you with such a fast pace, new mechanics, new twists on those mechanics, in a way that only Nintendo knows how to do properly with Super Mario games, Mario Wonder being an example, or even Mario Odyssey being a slightly older example. And Astrobot does that with such clever design and accessible design and a challenge, because it's not an easy, it can be an easy game, but it's not like a Kirby game. I die a bunch in this game. Like it can be challenging, and it introduces all of those mechanics and ideas, complemented by incredible graphics and performance and sound and the haptics on the controller. But how the game uses progressive disclosure in a way to introduce a new mechanic, make you familiar with the mechanic, and then twist on that immediately. Like, it's so clever and so well done, and ultimately so fun. It's the sort of game that I was not expecting, and it's the sort of game I think it's the reason why you buy a PS5 for, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing that it's taken this long for it to show up, but that doesn't take away from the game itself. And I think you're right. It does a nice job of ramping up the difficulty. There are difficult parts in this game, and you will stumble on a new mechanic, not understand it at first, and just die a couple of times. And then realize what you're supposed to do and learn and kind of get back on the horse and progress in a way that I haven't found frustrating so far. I'm still fairly early in the game. I just kind of played through to the first boss, the big gorilla, and found a couple of the lost galaxies, I think they're called. They're the hidden realms. And I've done those, and it's just been, not only are the mechanics interesting and kind of keep you playing the game, but it's got a lot of character, which I think is fun too. And it's got those little hidden gems for people who are familiar with older games from Sony, because it's got so many different bots that are dressed up like characters from other franchises.
Yeah, all those references I find really fun. When I unlocked the Ratchet character from Ratchet and Clank, there's Solid Snake as a bot. There's I want to say there's Psycho Mantis, which is one of the bosses from Metal Gear Solid on PS1. Like,
they have Joel from The Last of Us.
They have Kratos from God of War, which I still have to reach that stage. It's a sort of game that is made with such love and care. It's the best version of a Nintendo game that Sony has made, and in the process, they haven't just copied Nintendo. They have made a PlayStation game, like
Right.
A first-party PlayStation game that celebrates PlayStation history, but also looks forward, in the sense that, from a technological perspective, and again from a control perspective, play this game with the DualSense. Really, I recommend.
Oh yeah,
it.
you
Like,
have to.
don't use a third-party controller if you can. Try and avoid the remote play because you do lose some of the features with remote play. Obviously,
Yep.
try and play this game on a monitor or in front of a TV with the PS5 and the DualSense. There's so much more that I could say about the fun twists in every level, and like so many times already, I've been playing for a couple of hours, but so many times already the game had me chuckle at like actually laughing at like the things you discover and the animations and how the enemies animate. There's this beautiful one of the first few levels. You go underwater, and underwater there's like this bubble that you need to enter, and inside the bubble you can breathe, and the effect both visually and from a tactile perspective,
Right.
and also like the sound, how it changes outside and inside the bubble under the sea. It's so well done. It's incredible, and it's the reason why, like, yeah, if we're talking about this sort of game, I understand why you probably want to have a PS5 Pro to make it look even better. But even on a regular PS5, I have a PS5 Slim, it looks gorgeous. And yeah, I would honestly recommend try and play this game with your PS5. Don't use remote play. Don't use the PlayStation Portal. Don't use your Steam Deck. In front of a monitor, in front of a TV with a DualSense.
Yeah.
Enable haptics. Even if you're like me and you're concerned that the haptics are like gonna wake your partner sleeping next to you, put the haptics on weak instead of strong, which is the default, and it's still gonna be super enjoyable and not as loud in my experience. So yeah, that's what I would say. Go play Astrobot. It immediately shot to the top of the Game of the Year contender list for me.
Right. If you had tried Astro's Playground before, this is like that. I mean, it'll be familiar because it has the same kind of integration with the DualSense controller, a lot of the same basic mechanics, but it's so much more than that. That was so much of the Playground was really a demo more than it was a game. I mean, it was fairly short, but people loved it. And this just fills that out even further. One of my favorite things that, two of the goals here are to collect puzzle pieces and to collect the robots. You're rescuing these robots. And when you rescue one, they bend over and wiggle their rear end at you, and you kick them. And that's how you save them. Like kicking them in the rear end, and then they fly off. And, Astro's spaceship is a DualSense controller. It's the whole thing is very much all about Sony, all about the PS5, the franchises, and the hardware, because the whole storyline is about a villain that steals the CPU from a PS5, and you have to go retrieve it. All right, Federico. Well, hopefully we'll get a little chance to play a little more Astrobot this weekend, even though we're getting the final preparations together for the reviews next week. I sure know that I'm going to try to do it. We will be back in another week with more picks. In the meantime, you can find us at macstories.net. We're also on Mastodon. Just go to vitici.macstories.net and johnvorhees.macstories.net to follow us there. And we're on Threads and Instagram. Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHEES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.